And hello, good people of the internet. This is Tommy Kelly, and this is, of course, the Tommy Kelly podcast. And it's been some time since I did any kind of a weather update. I was doing weekly weather updates when we were having the most magnificent summer here in Ireland that we've seen in a long, long time. But those glory days have long since passed. And it's firmly in the autumn now, and it's getting a bit wintry. And the heating is on in the house the last week or two. Not fully, but every now and again it just gets that little bit cold. And as is the want, there's been a bit of rain and stuff. But the upside of all of this is that it's getting into that time of the year where you have to stop cutting, or you don't have to stop, you stop cutting your grass. And as I loathe cutting grass with this, oh my god, I just hate it. It's the most annoying thing on the planet. It's actually the second most annoying thing on the planet. The most annoying thing on the planet is driving and anything to do with cars, which I'm sure an awful lot of you will disagree with, but I just hate driving. I hate everything to do with cars. I hate all of it. Second to, alongside cutting grass. Maybe it's just loud noise and motors and stuff that is what I really dislike. But that is the thing. The other thing that happened is, of course, when you get into the time of year when you put your heating back on, your heating, it doesn't work fully, and we've underflow heating in the house here, and it's never worked properly. And last year, maybe I talked about this in the podcast, I ended up having to find out how to fix it all myself and do the whole plumbing, because it's just impossible to get a plumber to come out and to look at it, and any that does have a look, say they'll do it, and then just disappear and never come back. Plumbers are just impossible, and anyone who has worked in it has done nothing for it. I think the problem was that when we built the house, the guy who put in the underfloor heating did a run-up very quickly after it, or there was some sort of suspicion. He was meant to come back and fix it, and then the next thing, the guy who was building our house, the manager guy, he was saying that, oh, well, he's an American and stuff. So I don't know if he ran away to America, or it just kind of coincided that he was always going to leave for America, and he just ran out of time. But in my head, he fucked off to America and didn't fix our underfloor. So I had to learn all about it. But it involves then, every time you switch it on, there'll be some rooms that it just won't work for whatever reason. But I think I have it sorted last night. I spent a few hours rooting around and getting it. But of course, none of you are here to listening to the Adventures in Plumbing. It is, of course, Adventures in Woo-Woo. And in this episode, what I want to talk about, it's particularly woo-woo, and it's probably more lends itself to possibly new agey type thought than strictly Chaos Magick thinking. But it's something I definitely have touched upon at different times in the podcast and on the blog. But I want to kind of riff on it, or kind of widen out on it and have a kind of a deeper discussion on this kind of idea. And it's the idea of doing your to-do list, your emotional relationship, maybe to-do list, some sort of to-do list that you have, and how that massively improves your life and your magic. So we'll get into that right now. So kind of when I'm talking about these type of ideas, and this idea in particular, I'm going to have to use some kind of very new agey words or ideas and stuff. And I just want to stress that these aren't necessarily how I actually view things. Like when I talk about energy and flow and blockages, in the kind of a new age kind of way, I don't actually think, or I don't know if it is actual energy, man, or if there is a blockage to your flow, man, that your chi's out of line, or whatever it is. But they're good words, and they're the best way of describing the type of things I'm on about. So that's just the nomenclature I'm going to go with, because it's familiar to everyone, but kind of, I suppose, with the caveat that don't get it too confused with it being an actual reality or a proper description. Do not mistake the map for the territory and all of those things. So basically, the idea, and this is one of the major kind of magic things that I do. It's part of the ongoing magic that I work on, which is just magic that I do ongoingly, if that's such a word or an expression, rather than specific stuff that's done for a specific outcome at a specific time, specifically for something specifically. Uh, and it's kind of to try and get my life on track, or to right, here we get into the language, to let it flow, and let the, that whole kind of expression that you have of, just go with the, the tide, not the tide, the stream, the river, go with the flow of the river or whatever. And it's kind of something similar to that, but it's not fully that. It's basically what I have found in my life, and particularly over the last number of years, I become more aware of it. So I'm not sure if it's become more prevalent in my life, or it's just I'm more aware of it. But I can say I'm more aware of it. And it's kind of things, the idea that if you have unresolved stuff in your life, that it affects other aspects of your life, including, like, say, your work, or your magic, or any of these things. And it's not in a direct relationary type thing. So, I mean, if you have a bad relationship with a friend, that can affect energetically your work life, or your sales, or your art, or something like this. It's kind of as if there is a flow in your life, right? That there's an energy thing, there's a movement, there's something that it moves towards a particular direction. And this, it's like as if it's like a stream, or as if it's water coming down a certain path, or whatever. Terrible choice of words, but I don't know what the words are. And all of these little things that happen, like your crap relationship with your dad, your crap ex, your inability to get past certain things, your laziness into not following your to-do list, or not getting through, not doing all those things that you should get to, that you're not meant to, or that you've just procrastinated about and aren't doing, and now have become a huge issue, or any of those kind of things, then are like boulders or obstacles that are placed in this path, and it stops the flow of this water, or energy, or chi, or vril, or whatever is the word we describe for it. Now, again, stressing that I'm not sure if I'm not fully committed to an energetic model of magic, although I definitely do view it that way in certain ways, but it's as a tool rather than actually genuinely believe it. Whereas the idealism thing, I do believe that. Whether it's true or not is neither here nor there. I think that's actually a belief. Whereas the energetic model thing is just, I think that's a tool I just use. So, say when you're in the whole, let's go full woo-woo energy model thing. So you're like doing Reiki, or you're getting Reiki done to you, or energy healing done to you, or you're getting acupuncture or something done. And so that works on the principle largely that there is these energy points going around your body, and they're called meridians, which are the lines of energy, and they go to nadis, which are the points of energy. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I might have that kind of messed up, but there you go. And then you have major kind of ones. All of this is, some people say, your chakras, which are 7, 8, 42, 600, depending on what source you want to go with. 9 as well is the Falaldo has 9, the shamanic stuff. Anyway, so it's all about these kind of energy things. But the chakras aside, so you have all of this flow of energy throughout your body, and the whole principle then of acupuncture, or acupressure, or even Reiki to a certain extent, is that you remove the blockages, and this returns the energy to your flow, so that things start working well. So I mean, you might have an issue in your arm, but it's actually part of your liver meridian that it's blocking. So it's either it could either be the case that your arm blockage is causing damage to your liver, or stress to your liver, or your liver is causing stress to your arm, or it's just that energy line. So taking that kind of principle, we can kind of then put that into your life, and extend it outside the body, and see it that there might possibly be this kind of same idea going on, that there's this kind of flow, or there's a life meridian that you would have, and that these can get blocked by certain things. I think at this point it's probably good to give you an example of what I'm talking about, rather than just the theory of it. I'm doing an awful lot of shadow work, which is this is definitely a sibling of shadow work, this kind of thing, and it's hand in hand. And working on this, a large part of getting my flow, man, or releasing the energy, or unblocking my life meridian is shadow work. Getting over how much of an asshole you can be, or how shitty a person you are, basically, and then working on that, and that seems to open the floodgates and lets a bit more energy in once you get past those things. So we've been doing the journey over on the Patreon page, and that's basically every month you have a different theme, a different idea of part of your life that you work on, and we use servitors and meditation and journeying and all this kind of stuff. That's neither here nor there. But one of the things during the year was this kind of, that kept coming up, was this relationship that I had with someone. Now, I'm not going to get in with the whole problem of what the relationship and all that was, because it's kind of beside the point, and it's far too tangential and I will just go off in the thing. Besides, it's the whole thing is about me and not about them. So, you know, it's a kind of irrelevant, the actual incident or the relationship. But it was a very troubling relationship, and was something that I've certainly not felt closure or resolution or something on, and particularly at this point, at one point during the year, and I knew I had to do something, and it came to a point that circumstances had got to a point that I had to contact this person again, and. Well, not necessarily had to contact. There was a need to contact the person at this point. Had I not, the longer I went without contacting this person, the harder future things would be. I'm very cryptic and all about these things, but that's the nature of it. I just have to go with it. And it was playing on my mind, or preying on my mind, whatever that expression is. And I just had to. I was ignoring it, and I didn't want to do it. Didn't want to deal with it. It was like that thing that you have, years ago you had to leave back, DVDs or videos, and you just couldn't be bothered. And then it's 3 weeks later, and you owe, €50 or whatever in back pay or in back rental fees. But it's just becomes once, it's 1 day, it's 2 days, 3 days, and then it's, it's a month. But this had gone on over like it was nearly, I don't know, what had it gone on to years at this point? Possibly not, but it was definitely extended months. And so it was kind of way put on the long finger and way put out. But it had become more and more an issue. And it was as if the universe, man, or consciousness, I think consciousness is a better expression when people talk about, the universe did this. And I do it a lot myself, but I think the word consciousness is a better expression. Consciousness conspired for this to happen, because that's including yourself. Whereas the universe, for whatever way, when we say those things, that seems to exclude us as part of the process. The universe did this to me, the universe brought it up, and forgetting that you are part of the universe. So when you say consciousness, I think it's also probably a better descriptor of what it is anyway, because, idealism, all those things. And so consciousness had thrown up all of this stuff, a lot of stuff that was kind of a constant reminder, a constant kind of call to, this has to be sorted, this has to be done. And in the journey thing, every day we write up notes, just a brief, sentence too, about what's going on and what, challenges we're coming up about. And in one of the notes I wrote something along the lines, there's a thing coming up that keeps showing itself in my world that I need to deal with, and I'm not dealing with it. And at some stage I know I'm going to have to do it sooner rather than later. And all very, that was just, that was kind of me going, well, I have to do something. And now I've talked about having to do something, so that gives me another while before I actually have to do anything. But what started to happen is that this whole thing started impacting other things in my life, particularly work-related stuff, because my work probably is kind of, in some sense, well, not some sense, in a large extent, to do with my worth or my self-value or my self-worth or whatever is kind of all mixed up in my work. Being an artist, being a writer, being a podcaster, being, whatever it is I actually am, that it's, all tied in with self-worth. And this kind of instance with the other thing was also tied in with self-worth. So there is some sort of relationship, but I don't think there has to be a relationship for it to impact it. And what started happening was sales started going way down, money coming in started really going way down, it was like as if there was a chokehold coming on it, as if someone was turning that tap down of the energy or whatever, and there was just very little of it coming in anymore. And it was like, not just kind of, like ridiculously, like say if sales or whatever, they're fairly consistent in general, and art commissions and stuff come in fairly consistently enough. I've been doing it long enough that it's a consistent sort of thing that I can more or less not budget for, that's not the word, more or less, I can count on it that this is a job, this I can pay bills, this is a thing that comes in that happens all the time. where it's like, but it's not like I make X amount every week. It's, it's variable, but it's consistent in its variability and never really goes below a certain amount. And it's plummeted way down, as if the valve had been turned off. That kind of whole thing, and not just 47 stuff. It was on the art stuff. It was on anything basically where I would generate money to sustain myself. All of those type of things. And savings started dwindling. I was really gotten quite low or whatever, and part of me was kind of, there was obviously a panic in it in some way, because I panic about everything, but there was this, I knew something was at play. It was that thing I've talked about before. You can tell when magic is going on because it feels different, and I knew it was. And there was this choking kind of feeling, or a kind of compression. And again, going back to those things of like, it's like the energy, the flow, your chi, your vril, your life meridian had been squished, or the valve had been turned off, or the door had been closed, and whatever energy was coming through that was, going for sales and for all of that stuff, for that abundance or that manifestation and all that, had now whatever formula behind that, not formula, whatever kind of magic behind that controls that, had now dwindled and was being, restricted. And so that, I started seeing then the correlation between the two things. And I was still trying to avoid it and still trying to go around it. Until the point then one day I came in and I was writing up my notes for the journey. And this is weeks later. Definitely weeks, fortnight, maybe 3 weeks later. And every time I write something and I post it on the Facebook group for the journey on the day, whatever it is, I also then paste it into a Word document so that I will have my entire year's notes. And when I got to the Word document and opened it up, for whatever reason, every single one of my daily notes from the last 3 weeks had been deleted back to the point where it said in the book, I have to deal with this. There's something choking this. This is something I have to deal with before it gets late. Like right to that point. There was no question of, like, the one of those kind of moments in your life where the universe gets a huge big finger, like those big sports fingers that you see in the American sports games. But it's huge and pointing right down, going, this is the problem. This is it. Stop avoiding it. This is what's going on. This is the chokehold in your life. This is where the energy has stopped flowing because of this. No question about it. Interesting thing happens. So other thing I should butt in and say that I don't actually want a relationship to be resolved with this person. That's not the issue here. It's not like I have to go and apologize for something, or they have to come and apologize to me, or whatever. It's just a certain part of my life involves this person, and it's easier if there's a communication channel, which there hadn't been. Easy for the people around us. So I text the person and said what I had to say, or whatever, a news update or something I had to say to them, whatever. And no response, nothing. And the next day, or maybe 2 days later, I can't remember, or maybe it was the same day, only like I texted in the morning and then it was in the evening, got a response. It was fairly positive. It felt like the seal, that thing had been broken. Sales instantly started coming in. I mean, instantly. Sold a couple of decks of the 40 Servants. 2 emails that night about work over the next couple of days. Money came in. There was something like I got a check that I hadn't even thought about, like from Amazon or something like that. But it was like bang, 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 bang. And as if that valve had been opened, and then we were back. The restriction had gone, and it, like within a week, 2 weeks, sales, job, everything was back to as it had normally been. Everything, and there was absolutely no reason to see why it had been different before the point of this text and afterwards, other than I had reopened the seal or stopped the restriction and all that. And that happened to me kind of in a number of different cases before. It happened to me before. I probably remember it more around money because it's, you tend to remember things like that. But it happened a couple of years ago, good few years ago. This was around when it was near the end of when I was doing the great work, the comic, and the initial Patreon and stuff like that. And financially, it was really bad kind of time, and it was really bad emotion, like terrible time for me emotionally. There was lots going on and dark days, all of those things. And there was a point where tomorrow, the next day, or 2 days away, whatever it was, I needed to to pay the mortgage, pay the bills, whatever, and I had no money, and it was a nightmare, and it was a disaster. And I had got into that chokehold thing. The Meridian line, Life Meridian, had been, closed. There was no energy coming in or whatever. And I ended up just doing something about, I think I just sold a microphone to a friend of mine or something just to get a bit of cash, whatever. And as soon as that happened, and I had a bit, and there was a bit of relief, but a bit of sense of something happening, like a huge art job come in, and a couple of other things, and things like that have happened. Like, I mean, when I mean come in, I'm talking like minutes or like half an hour later, something like that. That it's just too synchronous. Synchronic. There's too much of a synchronicity to it. And again, what's the difference between a coincidence and a synchronicity? A coincidence is something that's weird, that's happening, that kind of doubles. A synchronicity has meaning to it, has personal, meaningful coincidence that feels different, and it's that nod wink from consciousness or universe or whatever way we want to say it. So having seen that very much in play, in particular in this incident over the last couple of months, that how these kind of things, these kind of chokeholds, or these things that we're not dealing with, can have a whole effect on our entire life. I've decided to look then for other places where I can kind of start doing these things, so to try and open the valve, or open the the flow of the chi man a bit more. And it is a great thing to do. It's a great practice, and it seems to have dramatic effects. I was watching Lodge 49 recently, and there's a lovely thing in that, in one of the middle kind of episodes, where Dud is talking about, he's trying to heal his own life. He's trying to heal, get his life back on track. And he has this kind of idea that if he fixes other people's lives, then his life will start to be fixed. And I kind of like that idea, but it's not really what I'm talking about here. But it's like, fix the broken things in your life, or the things you're not dealing with, to heal your overall things, rather than going, well, I know I screwed up with this X or whatever, and I know it's playing on my mind, and there's definitely something I need to be doing there, or either an apology or something that has to be done. Just an example. But obviously that can't be related to why my life has gone to shod in other aspects, and I would suggest that it could be. And it's worth looking for. And when you start fixing these things around you, that your overall life starts to improve. People often ask me, and I've often asked the question myself in my darker moments, why does my magic not work? And I would say it's, again, my answer to all of it is that I don't know why your magic doesn't work. I can tell you why my magic didn't work for a long while, and the reason was me, because I had, I was blocking it. I was doing shitty things. I had bad, negative kind of feelings towards things. There was a lot of victim playing, all of these things. And when I started getting through all them, my magic really started to work. So when I'm not doing the things, I'm not, living up to my responsibilities, or doing the things that I'm meant to be doing, not sorting out the things I'm doing, my magic stops working. My life stops working in many ways. And the energy coming into your life, or whatever that is, that kind of flow, or that whatever. If someone has a better word from that, please let me know. When that kind of restricts, then all of it kind of stops. So my suggestion to all of you good people of the internet is to look around and kind of make a to-do list of stuff that's in your life that you can do. Start with the thing you can do. Come back to that whole, not mention his name, clean your room thing. And the thing with the clean your room is that is a thing you can do. You can do that now. You can't cure world hunger now, so like, do the things you can do. Like, that's not mean to ignore the things you can't deal with right now. Aim for them, but start with the things you can solve or fix, or at least get past, or move on, or in some way sort out. Like, and even like, there's huge power in cleaning, even apart from the clean your room because it's the thing you can do. But it's almost like a banishing or just a general magic clearing out. Get rid of stuff. There's movement in it as well. It's the thing I talked about before a number of times on the podcast, that it's if you're low on money or you have bills coming in, to spend a bit of money to re-establish that flow. Like, not a crazy amount. Like, if you owe $500 at the end of the week and you've only $300, don't spend $300. Spend 20. Get something to make the flow go again, or do something that you would only do on condition that the money, the $500 is paid on Friday. Do something. A great spell activation, if you want, is to do something that you would only do given that your desire manifests. Like an example, that thing I've talked about before, the Aleister Crowley, where he went and bought ice cream and when he'd no money, he spent the rest of his money on ice cream so that he would be. It was only something he would do if his rent was paid. It turned out it was champagne and oysters, I think someone has told me. But it's that idea of do something that you would only do if your desire had been manifested, and in some way kickstarts it, or allows this energy, this flow again that I've been talking about. So come up with these kind of things, have a look around and see what you can do. Give stuff away. That's always a great one to get the flow going again. Like if you're hoarding stuff, that's stuff that's kind of stagnant energy, and that you can definitely get rid of. So have a look around and kind of declutter your life. Get rid of stuff that you don't need or want. There was someone told me years ago that they don't make New Year's resolutions, but what they do is they go around their house on New Year's Day and get rid of anything that they haven't used in the last year. Now, I'm definitely not as strict as that, and it's because there's certainly books that I haven't looked at in the last year that I wouldn't want to get rid of, or like photos that I haven't looked at in 20 years that I don't want rid of. But there's a nice principle there. There's a good starting point of walk around your house and see the stuff that's doing your head in, or that is of no use to you anymore, and that give it away to someone who can be of use to. That's a great mover in the thing. Then kind of look around your house or look around your life and go, what are the things I'm not doing, what I'm avoiding? If you're avoiding something, it's a sure sign that you should do it, because it's holding things up under this kind of principle that we're blocking our energy. What are you avoiding? Who are you avoiding talking to? Who are you avoiding interacting with? Who, when you walk down the street, do you not want to see? And I mean, this is not like if you've had a seriously abusive ex-husband or something like that. That's not saying to go and, sort that out. Like, again, start with the things, that you can do or whatever. But it's more like if you, let me see, good place to start with is if you work in an office and there's someone who particularly annoys you, whatever, and, you stop talking to them, talk to them. Do something that gets that relationship from being a crappy sort of relationship to a tolerable relationship, a working relationship where we can move, the energy can move forward on these things. So if you're avoiding people, avoiding things, if you're avoiding particularly doing work, if you're doing a thesis or you have to write an essay and you're not doing it and it's coming up and that's on your mind and that's doing all that, do it. Start on that essay tonight. Start on those things. If you have a spare room that you've not cleaned out, start sorting that out. Start doing that. Start thinking about it all the time. And then what I'm talking about right now, stuff already that you can be dealing with, that you're avoiding, that has become stagnant, that is a blockage. Stagnant is a great word for this. All of these things make it stagnant and block and restrict. So there's probably plenty of other principles or plenty of other ideas you can work around this. But it's kind of on the idea that if you have one part of your life that has become restrictive or become all-encompassing in some way, or is, all your energy is draining into it. That could be another way of looking at it. Perhaps it's not that the valve is closed or the energy's not able to flow into it. It's that you've taken all of the energy you have is going into this problem or this thing you're avoiding or this troublesome event that's in your life. And it's all going into that black hole of that and being wasted in worry or anger or whatever it is. So if you can get rid of that, then you have more energy to go. So it doesn't fully seem like that. And even saying that, it's not fully yet. It's possibly a bit of it, but it does seem more of a restrictive, a blockage, a thing. And almost in certain respects, like the universe going, or consciousness going, deal with this. You have to deal with this, and until you deal with this, we're shutting you off. We're cutting you off, even until you deal with it. And you have to deal with it, and it's only when it gets to a particular bad spot that it really gets annoying. So if you can deal with these stuff early and quickly, then you've more flow, man. Energy will be better for you. So it's something I'm working on. It's definitely part of my ongoing magic, is to constantly be looking at things I'm avoiding, things I don't want to do, things I'm putting off, or problem areas that I could definitely deal with. Where's the stagnant part of my life? Where's the problem area of my life? Where's the avoidance part of my life? What am I not doing? What can I be working on? What part of me could be restricting? Where's the black holes in my soul where all my energy is being diverted into? What can I work on? Well, on my relationships, is there things that I really should be telling people or sorting things out? Is there some secret you're holding on to that you need to tell? And it's not like a huge secret. It could be just something that you're to save embarrassment to yourself, or that will destroy your some sort of image you have of yourself in the eye of other people. All of these things, and that's stress again. It doesn't have to be a huge thing. It possibly can be a huge thing, but it doesn't have to be, and it doesn't have to be related to whatever area of your life is getting the result of it. So yeah. So that was another episode of the Tommy Kelly Podcast. And if you like what you heard, then you can go to TommyKellyPodcast.com, which is TOMMIE, Tommy with an IE, Kelly with a Y, podcast with a podcast. And there you'll find all the episodes. We're on iTunes. We're on iTunes. I'm on iTunes. I always find that funny when people who are definitely like a person talked about themselves in the third person, no, plural thing. Where to go? We're on iTunes. We're on SoundCloud, and it's like, I'm on SoundCloud. You're not a company. So I'm on iTunes, I'm on SoundCloud, Pocket Casts, Stitcher, all of those places. And if I'm not on the podcatcher that you use, let me know and I will try to sort that out. I'm not on Spotify. I've applied twice. They've ignored me. I don't know what to do. If someone knows how to get me on Spotify, please let me know. If you go to adventuresinwoowoo.com, you will see a site that currently is a bit weird to look at on phones, because I switched from the kind of crappy generic phone version to the more, I put some time into designing this kind of thing, but there's like those 4 icons at the top that if you go on like a desktop that are quite nice on the desktop, or it's stacked on the phone and it looks a bit terrible, and it's takes too long before you actually get the thing. I am working on a new website, not really a new website. I'm working on getting some time, blocking out some time where I can work on the website and make it a bit more streamlined and a bit more things. I want to change the menus and stuff like that, so that it's just basically going to be Chaos Magick, and you click on it and it'll all be the Chaos Magick stuff, and the next one will be art, and you click on it and it'll be all the art stuff. So I'm going to simplify the whole thing and try and make it a bit more user friendly and a bit more easier. On the website at the minute, I've been doing a thing where other people have been writing stuff for me, and it's going really well, and there's a great response to it. It's called Other Voices. That's the series. So if you want to check that out over on the website at the minute, I think you should, because there's some really interesting stuff being written on the blog by not me. So it's a different perspective, and it's by people who I think are cool. I think of value to say, and like that's kind of like, who am I to say it? Like they're cool people. They're you also will think of it, and many other people think it. It's not me plucking them from obscurity or any of this kind of thing. On adventuresinwoowoo.com, you can also find the 47's video course, or all the information about the 47's, that is, which is 47's is a divination and magical system that I put together, coming up to 2 years old nearly now, in October, at the end of October. We're in October, so at Halloween. And all the information is there, including how to use this for absolutely free. But you can buy the deck, you can buy the deluxe deck, which comes in a lovely box. You can buy the Grimoire, which is quite expensive, or you can buy the cheaper little black book, which is like a paperback, but it doesn't have the the colour illustrations or that kind of stuff, a couple of other things, but it's quite cheaper because of that. So all of this information on the 47s and the 4 Devils is there. There's also a magic primer there if you're new to magic at all and you don't really know. The first one is where to start, then it talks about servitors, banishing. There's them. I promise, I know I've promised before, I am working on other stuff. There'll be journeying stuff. And what's the other one I'm working on? I have 2 going at the minute. can't remember. That is my brain. That is how it works these days. So I'm on all the social medias. I'm at Tommy Kelly mostly, and if it's not that, it's Tommy Kelly Artist. It's definitely at Tommy Kelly Artist on Facebook. There's a Facebook group for the 47s, which is a wonderful group. You should check it out. There's an Adventures in Woo Woo page, which is great. It's great because most of it is not my content. It's links from all around the world that is kind of, interesting woo-woo related or occult or magic related. I'm now putting up all of the podcasts and the videos directly onto Facebook rather than just on YouTube or SoundCloud as well, because it means that you can just click and play rather than having to go to like an external player or link or any of those things. So I'm testing that out, see how it goes. So far it seems to be going well. People seem to be responding to it. So over the next while, there's a lot going on. I'm really beefing up the Patreon account. There's lots of things going on. We're doing group rituals. We're doing a lot more art stuff, behind the scenes stuff. I have a lot planned over the next while for that. If you want to help out with all this, sharing is great and really helps me, or leaving a review or any of that kind of stuff is great. If you want to give me your cash and get rewards for giving me your cash, then go to Patreon, which you can get to by tommykelly.com, TOMMIEKELLY.com. That'll bring you straight to my Patreon page, and there's an awful lot of stuff there now. There's depending on what tier you're in or what reward level you're in, but there's like PDFs of all the books, of all the comics. There's downloads of the digital deck. There's all the behind the scenes of the art stuff, videos, time-lapse videos of the different things. There's a whole collection of the 47s at different stages of creation, from pencils to inks, all of that kind of thing. Lots of art stuff there. There's lots of photography stuff there. There's lots of magic stuff there. There's the group ritual that we do every week. There's that journey that I talked about in the main part of the podcast, which is this servitor-based shadow meditative journey and work, and that can start at any time. That's coming. That's a year long, and we're in month 10 or whatever. So most of the stuff is there, and you can start that whenever you want, which also gives you access to another Facebook group. But all of these things, just go to adventuresinwoo-woo.com and you will find all of the stuff, and that's the hub. And right, good people of the internet, my blessing for you this week would be that you find places in your life that are easily managed or easily resolved or solved, and that resolving these things leads to a much more flow into your life of energy that you can then, that improves your overall life and all the things. So I wish that for you, that seeing that you can see these small places where you can make resolve and fix, and then that overall will fix your life in a much better way. Or that you have the braveness, or that you're brave enough, the courage to tackle some of your bigger issues and resolve them once and for all, and allow a huge bit of energy to come into your life. So, good people of the internet, be well, and I will talk to you next week.